157 people have been killed in the crash of a Boeing 737 MAX jet.
We are following breaking news out of Ethiopia, where a plane went down just outside the capital, killing everyone on board.
Ethiopian Airline's plane carrying 149 passengers and 8 crew bound for the Kenyan capital has crashed shortly after takeoff. There were no survivors.
The Ethiopian Airline's Boeing 737-800 MAX crashed just shortly after taking off from Bole International Airport in Addis Ababa en route to Kenya.
None of the 157 people on board the crashed Ethiopian Airlines jet has survived. That's according to the Ethiopian state broadcaster. Now, it's believed the plane was carrying 149 passengers and 8 crew coming from 33 nationalities.
Tracking the story with more details as they come in.
Let's show you images that are just coming in of grieving family members who are waiting at the Nairobi airport. They were waiting to greet their loved ones, their friends, their business partners coming home, coming for a visit. But unfortunately, they've all been met with the worst possible news that the plane has crashed and there are no survivors.
18 Canadians are among the passengers killed in an Ethiopian jet crash. The plane went down just moments after takeoff. We have the latest video from the scene of the disaster, plus details on the victims as they are released.
Well, correspondent Donald Quarter joins me live now in the studio. Don, you've been following this story really since we heard about it, which was a number of hours after it actually happened, which is another point. But what do we know? What is confirmed here?
Well, the latest thing that Ethiopian Airlines is reporting is that the CEO has arrived on the crash site, and he confirms personally that there are no survivors. Now, to put this into perspective, it's reported that citizens from 33 different countries died in the accident, the majority being from Kenya, Canada, and the EU. Now, this was one of Ethiopian Airlines' regularly scheduled flights, and the Ethiopian Secretary of Transportation did a press conference earlier today and told us all what the government knew at that point about what was going on. Let's take a listen.
The incident took place at 8:38 when the flight took off from Bole International Airport, and 6 minutes later it got lost in terms of radar surveillance.
Now, although the plane crashed only 6 minutes after takeoff, it took emergency services 2 whole hours to get to the site. Now, this is especially shocking because Reports were saying that it only crashed about 50 kilometers south of the takeoff zone at the airport. One witness even told the BBC that the result of this delay was because the fire was so strong that people weren't able to approach the plane on the crash site. The office of the Ethiopian Prime Minister already reacted to this on Twitter. They said that they give their condolences to the families of those who lost their lives on this plane.
Now, contact with the Boeing 737 was lost just minutes into that flight. Let's get more reaction now. We'll cross to Odeyo Serari, the news editor at Kenyan TV station KTN, and he joins us now live from Nairobi.
The Ethiopian Prime Minister tweeted the news. There was no news anywhere here in Kenya, and there was no way to even verify whether it was true indeed the plane had crashed. So I might say it got everyone here by surprise, and currently we are still following up on the story just to find out what is going on. And currently it's been very difficult to get any clarification from the Ethiopian authorities apart from the tweet from the Prime Minister, who tweeted some messages of condolences to the people who were on board the flight. And a few minutes ago, the Minister for Transport in Kenya, James Macharia, has just addressed a press conference saying that Kenya is now following up just to find out what has happened in this particular incident that has occurred earlier today morning.
Now, obviously, this is an Ethiopian Airlines accident, so the airline authority in Ethiopia will be highly involved. Have we heard anything from the Kenyan airline authority in the hours after this accident took place?
So far, what we've been gathering is that we've been listening from the relatives of the people, some of the Kenyans who are known to have been on the flight, on board the flight, saying that they were just saying that they were expecting their relatives to land at the Jomo Kenyatta International Airport, but they haven't received any word. But just a while ago, I've seen some news coming from the Jomo Kenyatta International Airport instructing all the relatives of people who may be on board the ill-fated Ethiopian Airlines flight number 302 to go to a hotel called the Sheraton Hotel just near the Jomo Kenyatta International Airport. That's where they might be able to get news about their loved ones who are on board the flight.
We're going to leave it there for now. Odeyo Serari, thank you so much for joining us live from Nairobi. He's the news editor of Kenyan TV station KTN.
The plane, which had 149 passengers and 8 crew members, took off at around 8:40 before crashing 6 minutes later near the town of Bishoftu, 60 kilometers outside Addis Ababa, Ethiopia's capital. One Ugandan has been confirmed to have been on the flight, but the countries that lost the biggest number of people include Kenya with 32, 18 from Canada, 9 from Ethiopia, 8 from Italy, 8 from China, 7 British citizens, 7 French citizens, 6 Egyptians, 5 Dutch citizens, and 4 people traveling with UN passports. Ethiopian Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed Ali used his Twitter account to send out condolences to the families of those who have lost loved ones in the crash and Ethiopian Airline officials. The Boeing 737-800 MAX is one of the recent Boeing models, and Ethiopian Airlines had acquired the aircraft just 4 months ago.
18 Canadians are among the passengers killed in an Ethiopian jet crash. The plane went down just moments after takeoff. We have the latest video from the scene of the disaster, plus details on the victims as they are released. As they come in, Natasha, what's the latest?
Good morning, John. Let's once again begin with the numbers of those who have been confirmed killed. We know that there were 157 people on board. Nobody has survived. We have that now from various representatives of the government and the airline itself. Here are some of the critical numbers that we're looking at. 32 Kenyans killed, but then the second highest number of fatalities comes from Canada. 18 Canadians have been killed as a result of that crash that took place between Addis Ababa and Nairobi that left at 8:38 this morning. A number of Ethiopians, Americans, Chinese, Italians, and 7 people from the UK and from France, and the list goes on from there. Let's show you images that are just coming in of grieving family members who are waiting at the Nairobi airport. They were waiting to greet their loved ones, their friends, their business partners coming home, coming for a visit. But unfortunately, they've all been met with the worst possible news that the plane has crashed and there are no survivors. We also have it has crashed, so we'll just continue to watch. Again, just want to stress, we don't know what caused the crash. We can confirm that all 157 are dead who were on board, including 18 Canadians.
Thanks, Natasha.
You're welcome.
Well, Keith Mackey is a former airline captain and president of the aviation safety consulting firm Mackey Aviation. He says that the plane's 2 black boxes, the cockpit voice recorder and the flight data recorder, will be key in pinpointing the cause of today's crash.
Everyone is comparing this accident to the one in October of last year involving Lion Air in Jakarta, where the same type of airplane was involved in an accident shortly after takeoff. Of course, people will be looking for any similarities between the 2 accidents, but we really have no link to bring them together other than that they happen shortly after takeoff. First step is looking for those boxes. And once we get the boxes and find out what actually has happened, then we'll know where in the wreckage to look. We'll look at everything initially. We'll get the radar tracks, the tape, the pilot communication, and the investigators will try to piece all these things together to come up with any clues as to what happened. And I'm quite confident eventually we will discover the cause of the crash.
Flight 302 was en route to Nairobi, Kenya, when it crashed in the town of Bishoftu just 6 minutes after takeoff. The plane was carrying 149 passengers and 8 crew members. CNN's David Mackenzie is live in Johannesburg with the very latest. David, what are you learning about this crash?
Well, what we're learning, Pauline, from Ethiopian Airlines, they've just released some of the details of the passengers on this tragic flight that went down just after takeoff on Sunday morning outside of Addis Ababa. Now there are more than 30 different nationalities, a large contingent of Kenyans and Ethiopians, as you would expect, 18 Canadians, 8 Italians, 8 Chinese, 8 Americans, and then just people from all over the globe on this extremely popular route from Ethiopia to Nairobi, which goes several times a day. The Ethiopian Airlines officials saying that the pilot was a very senior pilot, had more than 8,000 hours, and had an excellent flight record, according to Ethiopian Airlines. So that is something investigators will be asking, why a brand new plane has this issue twice in a short space of time. Far too early to tell if there's any connection whatsoever, but certainly there are families both in Nairobi and in Ethiopia and around the world that are desperately trying to find out whether their loved ones were on that plane. As I said, a very popular route for business people, UN officials and diplomats heading to and from the 2 East African capitals. Pauline?
Right. And the airline saying that 32 nationalities were represented. David, thank you so much. David Mackenzie live in Johannesburg.
As Melanie said, Kenya's transport secretary has held a fresh press conference on the crash. He confirmed that dozens of country citizens were on board the plane. Here's what he said.
There were at least 35 nationalities, and regrettably Kenya is the highest with 32 passengers on board. We are yet to confirm the fate of those passengers. And that's why we are sending senior officials to Ethiopia to be able to coordinate the sourcing of information in a better fashion.